ready to go.
King of Price, Randy Marion, Statesville.com.
The following is a paid program and does not necessarily reflect the views of WSIC.
Well, good afternoon, Lake Norman, and welcome to Town Talk. We're coming to you live from WSIC, the Real Talk Studio, nestled on the banks of beautiful Lake Norman, streaming worldwide from Brisbane, Australia, to Davidson, North Carolina, population 15,132. I'm your host, Bill Russell, president of Lake Norman Chamber of Commerce, the largest chamber of commerce in the Charlotte region. My guests today are Tracy Mattison Brandon. She is a commissioner for the town of Davidson. Alisia Bergsman, commissioner for the town of Huntersville. And Scott Higgins, commissioner for the town of Cornelius. My producer, Bill Blakely, in the other room. Bill, today is Wednesday, February 28th. But do you know the significance of February 28th?
Is it the normal last day of February?
Well, that's not what I was going for.
All right, what you got for me?
All right, Alisia, you know what the significance of February 28th is?
That people who are born on February 29th will have a very special day tomorrow.
That's a good answer.
It's the day after my birthday.
I feel like I'm playing the word of the day. That's not quite it.
Yeah,
okay, Tracy, what is the significance?
I have no clue.
Scott.
It's the day after my birthday.
The day, well, there you go. The day after your birthday, which is a national holiday for sure. But no, today is National Tooth Fairy Day. National Tooth Fairy Day. In 1927, Esther Watkins Arnold printed an 8-page booklet for children called The Tooth Fairy. And the average price now, or the average take for a kid is what? What do you think it is? What do you give your kids if they have a tooth out?
Well, it's been a few years now. Average, I'd say whatever a parent has in their wallet that night when they forgot that the tooth fairy needs to come visit.
Tracy, what did the tooth fairy visit you?
No, but as I recall, now this is a long time ago, so I would say $1 back in the day.
A dollar.
Wow.
Did you get $1?
No, we got a quarter.
Okay, Bill, what did you get? What did the tooth fairy bring you?
It was pretty modest. I would say that, let's see. Man, I don't even remember.
Tooth fairy is
very kind to me.
Okay.
It's very kind to me. A couple of Action Jacksons. No, I'm just kidding. Maybe $1 or $2.
Wow,
yeah,
you did really good. Scott, I'm right there with you. If I had been a really good boy and I told my mother that I had a tooth out, then the tooth fairy would come and maybe it was a quarter.
Maybe.
A quarter. Do you know the average now is $3 to $4 for a tooth? Well, it probably is. Yeah. But $3-4 for a tooth. Now again, the shock was when I didn't tell anybody I had a tooth out and I put it up under the pillow and tooth fairy missed me altogether. I didn't understand that.
Yeah, that doesn't make much sense.
Well, yeah, today, National Tooth Fairy Day. So
Love that.
Everybody has it. We have 2 newcomers when it comes to being a commissioner, 1 veteran. Alisia, I got to ask you, Brisbane, Australia, I mentioned it in the opening. How did somebody, Pennsylvania, right? Are you originally?
Yeah.
How did somebody from Pennsylvania become the joint director for the Refugee Claimants Support Center in Brisbane, Australia? How does that happen?
How much time do we have? I'd say the short version is I've always been a person that likes to do things a bit out of the box. So when I wanted to go to grad school, and my spouse was looking at med school, we decided to look outside the country. And I had met my spouse in undergrad, and so he attended medical school at the University of Queensland. At the same time, I attended the same university for international relations. And I started working at the agency, which I went on to become a joint director of.
And I was looking at your bio. You've also been a volunteer at the Carolina Refugee Settlement Agency. What is that, and what exactly did you do?
Sure. And it's funny you asked that because right now I have a trunkload of a rocking chair and some other donations to take down there tomorrow. So timely question. But the Carolina Refugee Resettlement Agency is one of the resettlement agencies in Charlotte. I believe there's 2 here. Catholic Services has one as well that works with the federal government to help resettle individuals that come through our refugee system, so often from various refugee camps. They arrive and resettlement agencies provide assistance for the first few months that they are in the community, and then they help in the transition to some other agencies and organizations that help longer term.
Scott, I was telling you before they arrived, before the show started, we're gonna share some things that people probably never knew about their elected officials. And again, staying with Alisia, in 2021, she helped lead the CALM, C-A-L-M, Afghan project, recruiting a network of health professionals to volunteer at a pop-up health clinic for hundreds of Afghan humanitarian refugees that arrived in Charlotte after the fall of Kabul. Can you share a little bit about that too? That's amazing.
Sure, and that was something that was entirely volunteer driven. It's basically the organizations up to that point in time over the previous years had been pretty much down to skeleton crew. There weren't a lot of refugee arrivals coming into the country. So when the fall of Kabul happened and humanitarian parolees started arriving in various cities around the country under that visa program, agencies were kind of caught in a tough place because, one, it was a pandemic. Two, they had shorter staff than they had in previous years. So I and a few others, we saw what was happening. We saw how great the need was and that organizations were struggling to meet that need. So it's very volunteer driven. CALM is actually pretty much a mom's group in the community. And I used the networks and connections that I had to, set up ways that we could help assist organizations when we had, a couple hundred arrivals coming within a very short period of time.
And going back to Australia, how long were you in Australia?
4 years.
4 years. Wow. Wow. And staying on this theme of things you may not know about your elected officials, Tracy is now in her second term at the town of Davidson, but she is a Davidson campus staff minister, and you're an ordained minister.
Yes, I am.
Is a particular denomination?
I was ordained under the United Missionary Baptist Association.
And how long have you been doing that?
I've been a minister for a long time, but I was ordained in 2021. Yeah, because yeah.
And what kind of services do you do over in Davidson? I mean, what do you do with Davidson students
at the college?
Mm-hmm.
We do a lot of discipleship, Bible studies, small groups. We also do collaborations with other campus ministries. We work in conjunction with the chaplain's office there at Davidson College. We do fellowship outings. We do one-on-one counseling and discipleship as well, besides having small groups. And we also do outreach. Mm-hmm. So there's several organizations that we will volunteer for. We have one coming up with Davidson College Presbyterian Church with their room in the inn. And we also have volunteered for an alum, Andrew Lovedale, his organization, Success. I can't remember what it is now, but yeah, it deals with.
I was struck by something. I think it was Ruby Houston said to me, and you know Ruby real well.
Yes.
She mentioned that the most segregated hour of the week is 11 o'clock on a Sunday morning. If you've ever thought about that, because we all head to our respective churches, and they're sometimes segregated places. You don't think about it. You go to your church, and maybe a largely African American congregation or a white congregation, so Indian population. But that was struck by that. We're going to go to a break from our sponsors, and I hope you'll stay with us on Town Talk. We'll be back in a few moments. Thank you very much for joining us today. There you go. Thank you very much. For those of you streaming with us, we're still on Town Talk, and we're going to talk about some Chamber of Commerce activities. But first, I want to go back that I just said that Ruby Houston, the most segregated moment or hour of the week, Sunday mornings, 11 o'clock, because we all go to our respective houses of worship. And very often we don't have, in my church, I think we have one black family at Bethesda. And she's an elder, actually, matter of fact, and she's my shepherd, and she always sends me cards and reminds me, Bill, we haven't seen you lately. But anyway, yeah, that struck me. I've never forgot what Ruby said.
Well, one of the reasons is that typically churches are neighborhood churches,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's indicative of the congregation to look like the neighborhood in which the church resides.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the church that I am a member of, Gethsemane Baptist Church in Davidson, it started off as a neighborhood church, but now we have congregants coming from Statesville, from South Charlotte, from Troutman, from Concord, Kannapolis, all over the place, which changes the dynamics of midweek services and coming together for specific fellowships. Now, with the campus ministry, one thing that we focus on with InterVarsity Christian Fellowship is a multi-ethnic, multicultural
Right.
Capacity for the Davidson students. And Davidson does a lot of recruiting for international students, and also they have really increased their student population with people of color.
We normally use this break to talk about Chamber of Commerce activities, and a seminar that we had last week was just outstanding. We had a marketing seminar at the Chamber of Commerce, and Jamie Lane did a program on Design Like a Boss, Mastering Canva, which is an application you could use to create JPEGs and flyers and things you're putting on your Facebook or your social media. Jamie is with the Lake Norman Economic Development Corporation, does a fantastic job marketing the events. Very well attended program, but it was fantastic. I think we had 38 professional development programs last year at the Chamber of Commerce. And again, that was another outstanding one, and we're going to have a lot more fantastic programs coming up. For you on streaming with us and watching us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, and all of the other devices, we're going back to our show in just a few moments. Thank you for joining us.
To submit your event today.
Town Talk continues now. Here's your host, Lake Norman Chamber President Bill Russell on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Welcome back to Town Talk. I'm Bill Russell, your host. I have Tracy Mattison Brandon, the Commissioner for the town of Davidson. We have Alisia Bergsman, Commissioner for the town of Huntersville, and Scott Higgins, actually Dr. Scott Higgins, Commissioner for the town of Cornelius. Scott, I want to go to you. We were talking about things that people may not know about each other, about their elected officials. And you're a driver for the Metrolina Food Bank, and you've been doing that since 2008. What inspired you to do something like that?
I've always been involved in community service, even going back to high school. I went to Rotary, I was president of Interact, and then I got service there. And then we talked about JCs before we came on the air, was involved in JCs. And I just feel like that's part of what one needs to do to be a good citizen. And being retired, I had the time, and I knew many of the folks who were a part of that organization, which is out of the United Methodist Church in Davidson, and it's very rewarding. And I like to do things that are meaningful.
Mm-hmm. And Tracy, that's really what I think led you to your role at the town was your passion for community service more than being an elected official. Is that right?
Absolutely. People would ask me, well, how are you going to mix politics with ministry? I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be who God's called me to be, and that's definitely a community servant. And I believe that as a commissioner, that's the one thing that we all agree on, is that it is a service to the community.
Right.
And it's nonpartisan. And so that is even kind of, reiterates that we're here to serve our communities and to serve them well.
But if you're not out in the community with the people and services, you're really kind of, you don't get what you need to know from your constituents about the things that you're going to be deliberating on and taking votes on.
Absolutely. Alisia, you and Scott, while this may be your first foray as the commissioner for the town, but you were vice chair of Parks and Recreation for Huntersville. Scott, you were chair of Parks and Recreation. Yeah. I want to talk about the role that Parks and Recreation plays in any community, because it's about quality of life. So talk a little bit about what you're most proud of. How long were you on the Parks Board?
I was on for about 4 years.
Okay. And Scott?
7
years. In your 4 years of Parks and Recreation, what are you most proud that your team brought together for the town of Huntersville?
Sure. And well, before, I kind of answer that, I want to mention too, when we did our downtown master plan Parks and greenways, parks, and those types of amenities are always at the top of the list of what residents want to see. It's usually number 1, 2, 3, and 4, unless transportation gets in there somewhere. But I'd say, I mean, I'm honestly proud of all of it. Most of it, I mean, I feel it's part of a team. I mean, I don't take direct responsibility for any of the achievements. It's, you know, it's the staff that really leads the way on those initiatives. The groundbreaking and opening of the Rosedale Nature Park is one that I'm was especially excited about because of the way that it incorporated some of the natural elements of the land with the boulders and things to create a play space. Our greenways, always. I've been at every ribbon cutting for every section of greenway that opens. As a cyclist, you know, I personally look forward to that continued expansion.
Scott, same question for you.
Almost the same thing.
Right.
We're real proud of our emerald necklace, which we're going to, of all our greenway system. We're actually going to give a presentation on that at the North Bank Rec Center tomorrow at 9 a.m. People want to know all about it. Where does it go? And it's trying to create a necklace or a circle of the greenways around Cornelius, and goes into Davidson and going to hook up with Huntersville. So greenway system is number 1, but we also have more fields in Cornelius than almost any other town our size, which is so very popular with not only baseball, Little League baseball, but now we have soccer and lacrosse and everything else going on. So, and our parks, we have more parks than a lot of towns have that our size. So I'm thrilled about it, because my whole emphasis is that we connect people to their amenities in a way that they can take the whole family and enjoy a lot of things.
Now, weren't you on the original Kane Art Center?
I was.
You were on the original board of
the
that.
original, the planning board, yeah.
How special is it to be able to, from the inception and vision of, we want to bring an art center to our region, not just Cornelius, the whole region, and then it opened as a debt-free facility?
It's incredible. I can remember making notes about a vision and a mission on a blackboard with chalk, you know, years ago, and how far we've come. And Mayor Washam has done an excellent job in spearheading that Kane Center, along with a lot of other community officials. And it's just the center of downtown now. And we look to, you know, even improve all the services around it, and maybe have some restaurants and other kind of things. But we needed an identity for downtown. We needed a place to go for people to congregate and improve the arts. And so now it's going to branch into a whole arts district.
Right.
So I'm very proud of that.
Tracy, we were talking about greenways, and when you think about Davidson, certainly that's a huge resource you have. Roosevelt Wilson Park, obviously, but talk about your greenways.
The greenways are crucial to having another form of transportation, not just for exercise purposes, but just to getting into town and getting around town. So, as you know, Main Street in Davidson can get very congested. And so we are advocating for people to walk, to share ride, and also use the greenways, not just for jogging and bicycling, but just to get around into connectivity. So we're looking forward to the improved connectivity that's going to come with Cornelius' greenways.
We've actually connected Davidson with Cornelius through the Antiquity Greenway.
The Antiquity Greenway.
And to the Art Center and to Davidson's.
Yeah, so that connection is huge, just because it's only so much greenway, and we continue to look to expand it. But one of the things that I'm proud of, I wasn't on the board when this was approved, but the Beatty Park that it opened last year, and that ribbon cutting was very special because it was just great to see something come to fruition that had been approved, and it was with the help of some state grant money, actually, that really pushed it. And so collaboration is really big in getting the funding for these greenways, and it's important for the connectivity of the Lake Norman region, honestly.
A same question of you, though. How important is Parks and Recreation to the life of Davidson?
It's very important because it's such a walkable town. You know, we're the smallest of the three, and it's a walkable town all the way through and through. And so as people move there and relocate there from different walks of life, we have a lot of people that move from the East Coast, and well as we get a lot of people from Ohio, as a matter of fact, Northern Ohio, but they like the walkability, and so the greenways kind of takes you away from traffic. It's a little safer mode of transportation if you're a cyclist, and so that's very important to our Vision Zero plan that we have that's in place, just trying to promote more safety. So the greenways, to me, actually speak to helping safe travels.
Tracy, when does concerts on the green start up?
I believe they start up in April or May.
Right, so it's right around the corner.
It's right around the corner.
Have we seen any of the schedule for?
Yes, the schedule is posted on the website. Yes.
Anything I need to know about? We have the Embers coming back.
We always have such good bands, you all, and so that's one of the ones that's a popular band that requested to come back. And then we also have a gospel fest toward the end of the season that I was instrumental in actually getting it to be as part of that rotation, part of the concert series. We also started having concerts at Circles at 30 Circles at 30, and those are on Saturdays. And so we're trying to just kind of incorporate some opportunities for businesses that are typically closed on Sundays. And so we do have some Saturday concerts on the green as well.
And you can't talk about Davidson without Christmas in Davidson. We just had that a few months ago. But how many people did we have at this year's Christmas in Davidson?
I'm not sure of the ending number, but it's like 10,000. Wow. It's really crazy. It's like for over the course of 3 days. Now,
Scott, you guys built a beautiful amphitheater almost a decade ago. How long ago was that amphitheater built over in the park? The Bailey Park.
Oh, the Bailey Road Park. Yeah. I'm not really sure when that was built.
But we have a concert series coming up there too.
Yes, absolutely. Concert series and all kinds of different functions related to that, and it's going to be a good event for a lot of things.
Alisia, were you serving on the Parks and Rec board when the development or the vision of the ice house was brought up?
That was, I know what you're referring to. That was before my time on Parks and Rec.
Okay.
So that was probably about three
and
years,
when we talk about that, it's a beautiful, beautiful facility.
It's gorgeous.
Sort of behind Town Hall. And there's been concert series y'all are bringing a lot of concerts there too. Is that schedule out?
It is. And so at Veterans Park in the Ice House
Veterans
stage,
Park, Ice, yes.
that I know our jazz series will be kicking off sometime this spring. I'm not sure if it's April or May. The town always hosts, breakfast with Duck and Bunny. I mean, there's a wide variety of activities that we do at Veterans Park and on that stage.
These celebrations are so important to the communities. I know our Laketoberfest and a Symphony in the Park, drawing 10,000 people from.
Symphony in the Park is one of my favorites.
Yeah, 10,000 people. Well, Band of Oz is one of my favorite concerts on the green. But it's amazing, and it's something that brings all three towns in the region together.
So you're a beach music guy too?
Yes.
Oh yeah. You like beach music?
Yes, I like all kinds of music.
Tracy?
I'm more jazz.
More jazz.
Jazz and soul.
Jazz. Well, we're going to go to a break. We're going to hear from our sponsors, and we're going to come back. We're going to talk about infrastructure and downtown development. So stay with us on Town Talk. We'll be right back on WSIC. Those of you who are streaming with us on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter, and I have a difficult time. I've said this time and time again. I have a difficult time saying, hey, on X versus Twitter, because I don't know how to, I used to tweet. I don't know how to X per se. I don't know really how to do that. It's sort of like the whole Prince thing. Remember when Prince did away with Prince, he became a symbol?
Yeah.
And he was no longer Prince. He was symbol. How do you pronounce that? I mean,
Exactly.
how do you really do that?
The artist who is no longer Prince.
Yeah, the artist that's no longer
Formerly
Prince.
known as.
Formerly known as.
Formerly known as, yes. We're having town hall day here at the studio with our commissioners, but we also had a fantastic town hall day. Every third Friday of the month, the Chamber of Commerce, 8:30 at the Chamber, we have Focus Friday, and so we had all three mayors. So Rusty was there from Davidson. We had Woody here from Cornelius and Christy here from Huntersville, and they shared what was going on. And again, it was a fantastic program. This coming Focus Friday, which is going to be March the 15th, we have a focus on our local police department. So all three police chiefs will be at the Chamber of Commerce. And of course, Beth Cashin, former commissioner for the town of Davidson, is our public policy chair, and she's going to be doing that. Alisia and I just came back from doing a ribbon cutting. We are doing a lot of ribbon cuttings at the Chamber of Commerce, and Scott, you've been a part of them too. But today we welcomed a new business in Huntersville, Everbowl. Tanya Jackson was there, and we kicked off their business. They've been in business for a little while, I think, but they just recently joined the Chamber of Commerce, and they serve smoothies. And of course, I had a smoothie. It was absolutely delicious. It had all kinds of stuff in it. Did you have one of their smoothies?
It did, but I'd like to hear you pronounce the name of the bowl.
I have no idea what
because I'm not great. Acai? Is that how it's? Is that how it's? The Hawaiian.
ACAI.
ACAI. Yeah. I never quite remember how to pronounce it.
I had
correctly,
a smoothie.
But they are delicious.
I had a smoothie with strawberries and bananas. I don't know what it was called. But I'm telling you what, it was fantastic. So it was really good. We've got on Bill, my producer's in the other room, on Tuesday, March the 5th, 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock, a ribbon cutting for the grand opening of the Peach Cobbler Factory.
You know I'm there.
Oh, yeah. Located at 21323 Catawba Avenue in Cornelius, the Peach Cobbler Factory, which, by the way, Tracy, you were there. They served peach cobbler at our diversity program at Ada Jenkins a couple of weeks ago. And yes, the peach cobbler was good, but they also served banana pudding, Bill.
That's my weakness.
Oh, my gosh. It was funny. Dan Houston and I had already had my peach cobbler. I mean, they served me peach cobbler, and I looked, and there's all these little cups of little banana puddings. And I looked at him and he said, yeah, go ahead and have one. And so I had one, and he looked at me, and he said, you want another one? I said, yes, I do.
As a matter of fact, I do.
So I had one peach cobbler and two banana puddings. Okay, for you streaming with us, we're going back to Town Talk in just a few moments. Stay with us.
It may have. Tom Busby, Bloomberg Radio.
Now more Town Talk with Lake Norman Chamber President Bill Russell on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC. Local starts here.
Welcome back to Town Talk. I'm your host, Bill Russell. I have Tracy Mattison Brandon, who is the Commissioner for Town of Davidson, Alisia Bergsman, who is Commissioner for Town of Huntersville, Scott Higgins, who is a Commissioner for Town of Cornelius. We were just talking about the opening of the Peach Cobbler Factory coming here, restaurant coming up next week. Really looking to the Peach Cobbler Factory coming to Cornelius, and I was just sharing that I got into their banana pudding, and it was delicious. I got a question for you, Tracy. You're a newcomer, somebody who's a newcomer in the town of Davidson. What is the one attraction or one thing you say you've got to go there? They've been here for maybe a month. What are you going to steer them to? What do they need to see?
Regarding restaurants or
anything?
Anything to see.
A newcomer comes to town.
Oh wow. I would think, I would definitely say our parks. I'm an outdoor person and like to sit at the parks and things like that. So I would definitely say Beatty Park, since it's the newest. Roosevelt Wilson Park is right there on Griffith Street, and any of the shops down on Main Street are just very quaint, and you'll always find something there that is different,
right?
Very unique on Main Street. So, and then, there's different restaurants there as well.
Alisia, I've been a resident for the town of Huntersville since 1995, and this is going to put you in a real bad spot, just like it does me when if somebody said, what's the best restaurant to me as a chamber president, I go like, well, anyone that's a chamber member. But it's really difficult, I know, but somebody's just moved to Huntersville. What do you say they've got to check out?
I feel like we're starting to get to the point where you can almost spend, a good chunk of the day in downtown Huntersville. And if you have kids starting at Discovery Place Kids.
Oh, yes.
And, easily a couple hours there. Just across the street from there at the Downtown Greenway, currently there's the Sculptor, which is a series of, I think we have 5 or 6 public sculptures that are along that section of the Greenway. It was part of a grant the town received, I believe, through the Arts and Science Council. So just taking a stroll on the Greenway. listening to the pickleball in the distance, the kids at the playground. And then 760 is right there that
absolutely,
opened up. It's been more than a year now. Time flies. But, I mean, that's a family-friendly establishment. They've got a space, outside for the kids to play in a little safe area. The food trucks come every day that they're open. And, our downtown is really starting to pick up.
It is. We're going to talk about downtowns in just a minute, too. But, Scott, okay, somebody's brand new to Cornelius. What is the thing that you were going to say? You just got to check this out.
Well, depending on which end, east or west. I mean, you can start with Crafty Burger and Cool Fish. Those are hot places now on the east side and west side. I mean, Peninsula Prime, Lost Worlds, Fresh Chef. Those are kind of the places that I recommend people go to.
Alisia, I was sharing with Scott that immediately after this program wraps, I am headed to Burkdale Village. Fin and Fino opens tonight. So John Dressler's new restaurant, where Dressler's used to be, is opening tonight. Susan and I have reservations for 7 o'clock, but I'm going to run to Burkdale real quickly and do some shopping. So I got some shopping that I want to do, but you talked about spending the day in downtown Huntersville. You could spend the day in Burkdale Village. And a lot of people, they don't, when they first come here, they don't realize that Burkdale Village is not his own community, that may not be the downtown, because it's like a downtown presence. But there's all this shopping and all these new stores coming in. Kilwins, I can't even go. Last week we had a ribbon cutting, and I said, okay, I'm going to cross the street because I love Kilwins and going in there and getting their maple fudge. That's another one of my things. But we talked about downtown districts, and it goes without saying that Davidson has just a beautiful downtown. So much to do, so much dining. There's communities that don't have near the restaurants we have in their whole city, and we have those just downtown. It's just wonderful.
Yes, it's really good. We have a small downtown plan, as well as that mirrors well with the historic preservation. And so it's important to us the type of businesses that come into downtown, and that they're enjoyable, not just for residents, but we have so many visitors, especially with the college being right in the center of it all. We have people who are coming there for college visits all the time, and meeting at Famous Toastery, and Flatiron is very popular, as well as even on the south part of Main Street, you have Carburitos.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, those burritos are heavenly. So
I'm getting hungry with this conversation.
And then Wits, you have Wits.
Right.
And one of my favorites actually is it's been there for many, many years. It's the soda shop.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So there's this. It's like have some Mexican. Oh, the Indian restaurant is also great.
How many restaurants are just right there in the downtown district? How many?
Yeah, I was just trying to add them up, but it's at least 10 down on the main strip.
Right.
But then I didn't want to forget about down the southern part where Carburitos is, and
Restaurant X.
Restaurant X is down that way. So it's probably close to 12 now that I think about it, in that little strip of.
Alisia, the Chamber of Commerce since 1996 has been hosting candidate forums every other year for town board candidates. And since 1996 until recently, the conversation was all, we're going to develop downtown. We're going to develop downtown. I heard this for 25 years. We're going to develop downtown Huntersville. But we're starting to develop downtown, and we're starting to see things happening. You've seen the old police station, which is now 760, the Craft. You've got North State developing what they're doing. And then I think it was just last week, you voted on plans for a new town hall. Can you talk about that?
Sure. And while the votes in the last month aren't necessarily for the new town hall, it was more to, we approved the financing, contract, and construction to move forward of a plan that the previous board. But it is exciting. I mean, groundbreaking is going to happen sometime this spring. Really, part of the thing that Huntersville is doing is working on the infrastructure, whether that's the Main Street Road project, which has improved safety in the area, especially in widening the sidewalks, changing some of the parking a little bit, making it a little bit more safer for pedestrians to walk in that section, and other infrastructure improvements, which come along and hopefully help to drive business growth in the downtown area.
Scott, I don't mean to to beat on Cornelius, but up until recently, up until the Kane Center for the Arts, we didn't really have a downtown district. And Tracy, I'm going to share something with you. In 1996, when I started this Chamber of Commerce, I actually was going to go downtown to talk to Bob Race, who was the town manager, at the town hall, which was in the old police station. And you've been here, I think it's for as long as I have. I parked my car and I looked, and there was an old rundown mill across from the police station, really where town hall sits now. And there were a couple of goats sitting there, one on the ramp and one on the ground, and they were eating grass and stuff. And this is downtown. And I walked in, and I said, and I'm the brand new chamber director, right? And I said, are there goats across the street? And he said, oh, our petting zoo? And I thought he was, I said, we have a petting zoo? And of course, what that really was the town was trying to get the property, and the owner didn't want to sell the property, wanted to use it for something else, and the town was leaning on him. So he did that as kind of a rub against the town. But we had a dilapidated, falling in mill with goats across the street. We had a town hall which really should have been condemned at that particular point, and it wasn't. But we built a new police station. We built a new town hall. We got the new Kane Center for the Arts. And now we've got a new project with Mark Miller. Can you talk about what's coming to Cornelius?
Well, we hope the amenities that a lot of the folks have wanted for years. Restaurants, shops, very international look to that area and surrounding the Kane Center. When folks come to the Kane Center, they need some place to go, and before and after. And we're trying to create that. Along with, we're putting together a master plan for the whole downtown area. I tell you, the one thing I was so proud of is when we did the light up Cornelius and we lit the Christmas tree, we closed the street, Catawba there in front of the police station and town hall, and people were able to go up and down, and vendors were up there. The youth symphony was there. We're lighting the tree. It just created that environment that similar to what Davidson has on a smaller scale.
Right.
But it really brought the community together, and that's the whole development that's going to continue. A lot of pedestrian, you mentioned wider sidewalks and accessibility. As long as we can do that, create a safe environment for pedestrians and cyclists, it's exciting.
This morning I was listening to Good Morning Lake Norman, which I listen to Good Morning LKN every morning, 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock. Would not miss that. They were talking about downtowns, though. They talked about what are the best downtowns in the Lake Norman region. And certainly from our perspective, it had always sort of been Mooresville. Mooresville had an old and nice downtown district. Here in North Mecklenburg, we could always talk about Davidson, but Davidson's smaller, but it had a fantastic downtown. Huntersville and Cornelius have not really had a really big downtown presence until now. And I got to tell you, as president of the Chamber of Commerce, I am so excited about what's happening in Huntersville and so excited what's happening in Cornelius, and will continue to happen in Davidson. And you've got to be excited about the new town hall because, again, I went to a presentation that you guys had in December, and I walk in, and yes, the town board meeting was going on, but there were things going on all over town hall. There were arts and cultural projects and things, and I think probably a lot of things happening at your town hall.
That's one place that I would suggest if you had a chance to see it, come and visit it. It's been renovated from an elementary school, and we've kept the old and implemented the new, and it's a great combination.
And the old town hall is now just totally the police department, right?
The police and
the
fire
department in the back.
Yes, safety building.
For those of you who are with us on Town Talk, we're going to go to a break and hear from our sponsors. Please stay with us. For those of you streaming, thank you for staying with us on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and YouTube and all the other social media platforms that we're on. We're going to talk about some Chamber of Commerce activities. I'm going to ask you all a question, though. And this last segment that we have, what do you think, as an elected official, the Chamber should be focusing on? I'll start with you, Tracy.
When I think of the Chamber, I think about collaborating with businesses, promoting businesses, because if you think about in the Lake Norman region, there are so many businesses, small and large and medium sizes. And so I think that one of the key things is to be able to promote their businesses, because that's the name of the game. They want their name recognition out there. And I think the Lake Norman Chamber of Commerce can absolutely speak to that. So that's one of the things that comes to my mind, is just promoting, being able to promote their businesses, but also to network with other businesses so that they can receive the support that they may need. And it may be tech support. It may be, how to better align your business financially. And so how to take advantage of social media. It may be different things like that. So I think that the chamber is very key in helping.
Kind of side question. What could the chamber do better, Scott? What do you think the chamber? You've been around. You've watched the Chamber of Commerce over your. What can we do better?
The whole concept of regionalization, which goes back to what Tracy's talking about, is so important, both from the mobility of people from one amenity to another, for families to get to the restaurants and all the things that we've been talking about. I think that involved with the Red Line and the developments coming on there, transportation. How do we improve the transportation in the area? And I see the regional approach that's gone on for years, but certainly I see more of that part of the chamber function.
And Bill, we have about 30 seconds left. 30 seconds, Alisia. What do we do well?
Well, like Tracy mentioned, networking. Fantastic. I mean, in some of the programs or activities, events I've been to in the last a year, one of them, I met a neighbor who lived up the street from me, and I had no idea he had started his own business.
All right. We for those streaming with us, we're going back live in just about 10 seconds, so thank you for staying with us.
Lake Norman Chamber President Bill Russell is on WSIC with Town Talk. Join in the conversation by calling 844-STUDIO-4. Now, back to the show.
Welcome back to Town Talk. I'm your host, Bill Russell. My guest today is Scott Higgins, who is with the town of Cornelius as a commissioner, Alisia Bergsman, a commissioner in town of Huntersville, Tracy Mattison, Brandon, town of Davidson. Before we go into some of the last things I want to talk about, I was struck by something else on your resume, Alisia. During the pandemic, you worked as a medical case manager at a public health organization serving people with HIV and AIDS. Can you speak to that?
Sure. I was in a family. I mean, the pandemic affected everybody in different ways, but we were all affected tremendously. I happened to be in a family with a spouse who is not a first responder, but frontline worker in hospitals. So we already had that exposure. And when I heard that there was a need in the community there were difficulties in hiring case managers, and that's actually where I started when I went into the nonprofit world, was within case management. And I saw the need, and I had the time, and I wasn't working at the time, so I applied for a job, and I was working with individuals. It's a community clinic off of Beatty's Ford Road. Lots of mostly young adults, but also as well individuals who have been living with HIV for decades. And it was under the Ryan White federal program to help people who are uninsured or underinsured access the life-saving medication they need to be able to live with that diagnosis and still live a healthy, productive life.
Tracy, at a diversity meeting that we had just 2 weeks ago, one of the issues that was raised was gentrification. And we're talking about basically poor sections of the town where you have affluent people moving in, and it forces other people out. And certainly in West Davidson, over on Griffith Street, we've seen a lot of displacement with folks. Pottstown, which is Huntersville's first neighborhood, built for African Americans in 1909. Smithfield community here in Cornelius, the largest intact historical African American community in Mecklenburg County. But we're seeing people that have been there forced out because, and a lot of times the tax rate is too big of a burden, and they can't stay in their homes. Speak to gentrification and what is the town of Davidson doing to maybe help people who have been long-time Davidson residents stay where they want to live?
One of the things that we created last year with the increase of property taxes all throughout Mecklenburg, West Davidson was hit the most in our community. Like when I say hit the most, over 100% increase in their tax bill. And so the town of Davidson, we created a tax assistance program. And so that would be helpful to people who qualified for the Mecklenburg County Homes program, would also qualify for our tax assistance program because we based it on the homes program. So that was one thing that we have done. We are definitely bringing awareness to the issue. I, as a campus minister, do a justice walking tour. We just did one Sunday with over 20 people, and we had 10 or 15 more on the waiting list. But it's to bring awareness and to help you engage in some of the issues when it comes to gentrification, to see what's really happening. So there are people buying houses, tearing them down, and then building something like 3 to 4 times as large. And so that's something that I'm very concerned about. And personally, I'm trying to promote a change in our ordinance in terms of the square footage of house that you can build within a certain community to address the need to stay within the character of the community.
I've served on the Habitat for Humanity board for a number of years when it was Our Town's Habitat here. And you know, the challenging thing that we have in all 3 of our communities is we literally have people who are our firefighters and our policemen and our teachers who can't afford to live in the community that they serve. And I know affordable housing is something that all 3 of you are wrestling with. When we had the candidate forums that WSIC partnered with us on, and the candidates were up there, that was an issue that came up time and time again. What is the Huntersville Town Board doing on the issue of affordable housing?
Sure. And I'll throw a little fact out there. Actually, the first time I ever visited this area, I was on a Habitat for Humanity collegiate trip and did one of their spring break builds. So that was, I'm not going to say how long ago that was. But what we're doing right now is, so last year, former Mayor Melinda Bales had started the Affordable Housing Task Force. And at the end of 2023, the task force presented their recommendations to the board. And, you know, those recommendations include, you know, protection, providing, partnership, and preserving. And workforce housing is a very important component. And that's one where I feel that, you know, the town can have more involvement, but we're also looking at ways that we can partner with critical home repair programs, preserving, you spoke about gentrification, preserving our historical communities like Pottstown, and providing a better protection so residents have that capability to stay in their homes and have their homes be, you know, a safe place to live through critical home repair. So we're looking at the recommendations at the moment and, you know, seeing how we can move forward.
I will say that we also, we have a affordable housing program. We have an affordable housing and equity director. We have an affordable housing and equity board. And so so this is us, you know, putting the proof in the pudding. And one of the things is working with Habitat with critical home repairs, and also with rental subsidy. We have a rental subsidy program because we understand that part of our inventory for affordable housing has to include rentals as well.
Scott, you served on the planning board, and this has been a big issue for you too. So talk about what you guys are doing with the town of Cornelius on that workforce.
Well, it's a real priority. We had a housing task force that came up with some recommendations, and CDC with Michelle Hoverson getting some money. And, you know, when you put together something like that, then you can apply for grants and get money. We also did some rental assistance and some tax assistance when the tax went up, as the other towns did. Working with the Smithville Coalition and the improvement of the infrastructure over there, water and sewer and other kinds of things are happening right away. And then also our new thing that Mark Miller is involved with the Highline Project. There are going to be 10 units in there that will be affordable housing. So I really, you know, we've been talking about this for years, but now you really see some things that are going to happen there. And it's a slow progress, but you have to really think about how you're going to plan it and where it gets the biggest impact. And that's what we're trying to do right now.
Tracy, switching gears, I know a big passion for yours is historical signage and being able to tell the story of Davidson from a historical standpoint. Talk about what you're doing.
So we developed a steering committee, myself as a commissioner and Commissioner Autumn Ryerson, Michael, along with town staff and some lifelong residents make up a committee to be more proactive in making sure that the history is correct and complete, comprehensive, and that there are different ways of it being told. So we're in the process of really creating an online presence where everything can be accessed online, but also signage in some historical neighborhoods. Lakeside neighborhood is one that we're beginning with, and that's in West Davidson. And along with those signs, there's going to be some creative ways to interact with that sign with QR codes so that you can learn more about the different areas that the signage will go in. But yes, we are, so that should be done this year. We're already looking at the different signages and what we want it to look like.
Mayor Washam wants to bring a history museum to the town of Cornelius. Are you a proponent of that?
Oh, absolutely. I think it goes back to the heritage. You talked about the mills and in Smithville, and in Lake Norman, the lake. So all that would be involved in that and be an educational venture. It'll take some doing. We do have some monies for renovation of that building over there, should that become available. But I think, again, talking about his historical heritage for the region, that would be certainly a step in the right direction, and an educational opportunity for kids in the schools and others who move to this area.
Scott, we were talking about things that people don't know about their elected officials. You're actually a dean, or was a dean of a college.
A dean of the graduate school, chief research officer, Western Carolina University, and later in charge of all the graduate programs in the UNC system.
And Alisia, you sort of got your start really here in Huntersville with the PTA and doing stuff that you did in the education field.
I did. So yeah, I moved here when my daughter was 3, and there were 2 ways that I first got involved. One was through not necessarily the PTA, although I was involved with the PTA, but also with the school leadership team, which is slightly different from the PTA and works collaboratively with staff as well. But also, I randomly, my first 6 months here, I randomly met former Mayor Jill Swain at North Lake Mall. I think we were at J. Crew, actually. And she is one of the individuals that helped introduce me to Huntersville 101 and to learning more about how the town works and getting involved in that area.
One of the things that I read about you in your biography that you and I have in common, not only is the hiking and doing that and backpacking, but passion for reading. And okay, we have 1 minute left. What's the last book you read?
So I just finished the Broken Earth trilogy. I read all genres. This was a fantasy genre, sci-fi fantasy by N.K. Jemisin. That all 3 books won the Hugo Award in the mid-2010s.
I finished last night Josephine Marcus Earp, Wyatt Earp's wife. So it was a story on Josephine Marcus Earp. Last book you read, 30 seconds.
Oh my God, I don't know. I read a lot of different books. Oh my goodness. Go to Scott. I can't.
All right, Scott, 10 seconds.
No, I'm the same way. I've been reading a lot of municipal government things in our documents in the town, trying to prep myself for what's expected.
We've got to go. If it's Wednesday afternoon, we're talking about Our Towns on Town Talk on WSIC. We'll see you next week.
Serving you better than ever before. WSIC.